what's up everybody? Welcome back to another episode of B is for Build. In today's episode, we're gonna be talking about and doing, very importantly doing, how to replace a quarter panel on a wide-bodied car. Now, if you're buying a car and you know you wanna go wide body on it, it's not a bad idea to get one salvaged like I did. It's gonna really keep the cost down much, much lower. I got this 2023 BRZ for $5,000 and change. I think it was $5,700. And if your heart is set on having a wide body on that car, like I said, it's not a bad idea to buy salvage, but you can also pick damage types that you're gonna be covering with that wide body kit. So things like front fenders, rear quarter panels, a lot of that real estate is gonna get covered by your wide body kit. So I got a great discount on this car, runs and drives absolutely perfectly, low miles, everything's great, but it had some rear quarter panel damage. I eyeballed it from the auction photos and thought we were gonna cover most of the damage with the wide body kit, but we're not covering quite enough that we don't have to do some rear quarter panel sheet metal replacement. So in today's episode, we're gonna be jumping into that process. So like I said, this vehicle was hit pretty hard right here. We replaced a control arm and did some DIY stuff to keep the weather out so I could drive it down to California to get my Street Hunter body kit. I installed it over at the Throttle's headquarters, but as you can see, this isn't like installed. I mean, these are drywall screws. So this body kit, we're gonna be flush mounting, we're gonna be permanently mounting onto the vehicle. It's no longer gonna be removable, and we're gonna blend it into the panels. But before we go ahead and do that, we need to get this panel fixed up so we have a nice meeting and mating surface, and it will look just like this one over here. We've got our donor quarter panel skin right over here, but before we start messing with that, we got to get some stuff off of this vehicle. So we're going to do a quick teardown. We're going to take these few pieces off of here. We're going to take the trunk lid off and the tail light off so we can see what we're working with. Got the stuff off. We had a slight camera issue. The issue was I left the cameras at home, so Kyle got them while I got that stuff off the back of the car. Oops. I was playing with this, which caused it to bend out. It wasn't like that when I took it off. Anywho, the next thing to do is going to be to take off our makeshift quarter panel sheet metal there. That was just to protect it while I was doing some road tripping, which it did a great job of. I'm going to go ahead and cut around this whole arch because all this stuff can go anyways, and that'll get that kind of old white sheet metal stuff off so we can keep game planning. Today's episode is sponsored by Electric Bikes. They sent us out this X-Peak 2.0. This is one of their all-terrain bike series, and this thing is seriously impressive. Just to start off, many of their bikes come pre-assembled, but we had to assemble this bike, but assembly was a breeze. We were able to do it in less than 5 minutes. That's a real quick from box to bike experience. And e-bikes can be very, very expensive, but Electric e-bikes provides many, many models that are under the $1,000 price range. And that's probably why Electric Bikes is the most selling e-bike brand in the United States. Now, range is a big thing on e-bikes, and their bikes come with great range. There's long range models for almost every bike as well, and their Expedition bike can go up to 170 miles on a single charge. That is like from Portland to Seattle on a single charge, which is pretty incredible. They're very customizable with over 75 different features that you can add on. Our bike here, we have the rear rack, we've got the rear fender, we've got the suspension seat post, and if you're browsing on their website, you're gonna find so many accessories that you can use to customize your bike and really make it your own. As far as speed, this thing has an incredibly powerful motor and it goes real quick. I got up to 28 miles an hour, and that is also packaged, thankfully, with some good hydraulic brakes. This thing stops on a dime. All of their models come with hydraulic brakes, and let's be honest, they're just fun. It's a lot of fun to get out there with the wind in your hair and just ride a bike again, especially when they go this fast. It's just a super, super cool bike, and it's very, very well built with high quality materials and high quality products like the Shimano shifters, the disc brakes, the full suspension setup. It's great. So if you're ready to get outside, enjoy nature, go ride a bike again, maybe go up and down some mountains, click the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen right here and go check out all the different rides that they have to offer. There's a bike out there for every different type of person and every different type of use case. And because you're one of my viewers, you can add a bike cover to your order and get it for free using code BUILD at checkout. That is BUILD at checkout. Huge thanks to Electric Bikes for sponsoring this episode and for my new mountain bike. Just in time for some spring riding. All right, we got that bad sheet metal off, showing us what we're left with. We definitely are gonna need to replace that piece right there. We didn't primer it or prep it for weatherproofing because it was temporary, so we're gonna have to build the permanent one. I want to build the permanent one to connect with the body kit piece out there, and we'll fiberglass it in, so we'll have a fully sealed off area. We'll probably fiberglass in the inside of it, or seam seal it, one of the two. So that is going to be a little bit later. Next, to cut the rest of this quarter panel off, the bad stuff, so we don't know exactly what we're keeping yet until we can overlay our new outer skin on there. We need to get the window glass out, the rear window glass. So let me show you how we do that. So there is the really fast way, which would be break the rear window glass, which we're not gonna do. But we do have a spare from the donor car if we need one, if we accidentally break it. The fast way and the slow way. So this is a kit down from Harbor Freight, and we'll show you how to use that because we're going to be using both of these. And this is their little oscillating multi-tool. And what I did was I sharpened the sides of this blade, but we're going to test that against just one of these round blades with teeth on it. And the reason this is the fast way is it can get in here. Imagine we're going right under the glass into the seal right here. There's a rubber seal all the way around with window urethane, and we need to cut all that off. Hopefully without breaking the glass. So we just turn this on, get this in here, and start working it through. And sometimes the sides cut, sometimes they don't. Just depends on the urethane, different things like that. And that only works in this back side, and you can get it to work a little bit from the inside on the top side. But these sides, that's where the wire and the pulling works. But if you don't have one of these, or you don't want to buy one of these, you can just use the wire and the pulling method that we're going to show you guys. So first, we'll go ahead and cut the seal on the whole back, and I'm going to test my sharpened blade that I've been using for years and years and years. This is like a 8-9-year-old little blade that I made a long time ago versus the lots of teeth version. I think the lots of teeth version might work better. All right, so we went ahead and used the oscillating tool and cut out the seal on this whole back side of the glass. Now the rounded teeth one did not really work at all, so that's probably why I handcrafted that other one back in the day. Now we're switching over to using the wire on the side bits, the hard part. The way you use this tool is you take this, wrap your wire around it, and we're gonna shove it right through. And you can do this before the seal is cut. You can just punch through the seal with this, or you know, it's a little easier to do clearly after that. And then on the other end, you're gonna attach a handle, and this is very much a two-person job. So one of us is gonna jump inside the car while the other person's outside the car, and you just saw through that rubber seal, and we're gonna be sawing all the way around. If you feel kind of a metal on your wire connection, like if you feel like you're getting wire on metal, it can help to maybe stop and go from the other direction, because there are pieces of metal here that are like overlapping. If you get hooked on that and start grinding into the metal, you're gonna cut your wire. These wires will break. They don't last a whole round. They won't cut out a whole back glass window usually. That's why the pack comes with, like, I don't know, a lot. So these, also if you go a little too fast, they're gonna heat up and they're gonna break way more frequently. So we like to go slow, let them cool down every once in a while. And then something to keep in mind is usually there's gonna be a plastic clip somewhere in the back top corner of a window. Sometimes they're in the bottom corners as well. Those are for installation at the factory. And you're gonna have to saw through those as well, usually. So we're gonna use a mixture of this, and if we have to, we'll bust out the oscillating tool again, and we will just work our way all the way around. Just be real careful, make sure you unplug the window heater elements, unplug those wires. You don't wanna cut through those. And yeah, this is a painstaking, time-consuming process, but this is how you do it. Back glass has been removed. Also, on the side that you're not replacing the quarter panel, really be careful about running the wire up against the paint. It will just destroy the paint immediately. It is a careful process if you're not you know, redoing a paint job on a vehicle or redoing the quarter panel on a vehicle. So all around there we had to be super careful not to hit any of the paint. And then this is example of one of those plastic clips that we had to blast through to make sure that we could get the glass off, and these are the plugs that plug in there. And obviously pulling some of the body paneling back to make sure that your wire doesn't run into it will stop it from being able to damage it. And that's the back glass off. So the next thing we got to do is start test fitting our donor quarter panel skin right here. test fitting this. So I cut it a little extra. So this came off of a donor car that was just like sitting in a parts yard. And we had to get a little creative with getting it off in time. Could have got a little bit more back there, but I didn't really know what we needed. So it's getting hung up right here on some dented metal. It's going to be removed. Basically, the idea is we're going to put this overskin on, and then we'll patch everything through and build a nice mounting point for the rear bumper and make sure everything's all nice and waterproof, and then it all gets covered once again by the body kit. So I'm going to go ahead and just test fit that up. The big reason that we have to replace this point right here. This got smushed in a little bit, and it's too close to the trunk lid by like 1/4 of an inch or less, maybe 3/16, maybe 1/8. I know my fractions. And so that means that we gotta replace this section right through here so it's not scrunched in at all. And so to do that, we gotta test fit this black piece in this area and start removing things that are blocking it from getting into the zone. We've now got enough stuff out of the way that we can start test fitting our donor quarter panel. You can see that these were where the old spot welds were drilled out and the new ones, and we're lining up pretty good. But the issue with the like, let's say this peak right here was that it wasn't lining up right in the first place with the trunk lid and everything else. So this is where we're going into. We're going to test fit the tail light, get a good fit on the tail light, test fit the trunk lid, and we're going to start to see where this panel needs to exist to make everything start to line back up again before we start kind of cutting and welding and patching everything in. The quick trunk test fit and taillight test fit, you can see we've got things lining up very, very well. The trunk is still not in its exact position, and that's because you can see on both taillights we got a little bit of a gap. So it's going to go forward a little bit, but we got these peaks lining up really well, and this is now meeting up with this. And that's what we wanted to see. That was the issue with the other quarter panel, as well as obviously our taillight surround was toast, and that upper part was all toast. So that's proof that we've got this thing in the right area. Now we got to figure out how much of this black quarter panel we want to use, where we want to cut the white one, and where we're going to do our butt weld to come through here. But that is definitely in the right spot. So we got our panel in place where we wanted it on the car, and what I went ahead and did was just strip some paint and did like little tack welds, very small tack welds that we can cut off on the top, the bottom, and the back over here. So that's 3 different points to hold it exactly where it is. And then I drew my cut line, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to cut through the black sheet metal and the white sheet metal, and it's going to leave one cutoff wheel blade width of a gap for me to do my butt weld running down there. I'm really hoping that gap isn't going to be too large. Got to really try and get that blade at a straight 90-degree angle going into the panel. That way it won't have really frayed edges or anything on either side. It might be a little larger than I want for a gap, but we're gonna see when I go to weld it. Anyways, once I cut through both of these, we should have a perfect matching butting surface for the black panel to be welded to the white panel. And the tacks are all to keep it exactly in place while I go ahead and cut through both of these panels. Okay, I've gotten pretty far through the butt welding process. I will say that the spots where there was a saw blade size gap or bigger became the problem areas. It was a lot easier to just weld, like you can see right down here. This is where the panels were just straight up touching each other. And basically the idea was I would do a zap, zap, zap. So 3 dots of weld, zap, zap, zap. And then grab the air compressor, blow air on it. That would cool it back down. Sorry, that was probably loud. That would cool it back down and help the panel from not warping on us. And then I would continue on zap, zap, zap and move my way around. Now, when I was doing my sanding, I found one tiny little hole, which then I sanded into a tiny little hole, and I went to weld it and started burning through. And I am now chasing what is getting to be a sizable hole, and I cannot get into this area. Now, the metal's is stretched a lot in this area, so it's going to be thinner. So we're going to have to get a backing piece and get it on there. There's 2 options to do this that I know of. One is you could put something like a piece of copper or brass or aluminum back there that won't weld to, and then you can use that as your kind of backer and start filling everything. Or you can do what I'm going to do and grab a little piece of steel, and we're going to have to place it kind of back here like that, somewhere around like this, and then we're going to weld it in, and that's going to help me fill in that gap without chasing, because the metal gets really thin when you sand on it and stuff like that. It gets really thin, and then the welding is hot, obviously, and that just starts to burn it up. And I had one tiny little pinhole that I turned into a hole that big by chasing that stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut a little piece of sheet metal and get that welded in and sanded down flush, and we're gonna be good on our butt weld to join these 2 quarter panels. That all patched up. So now the back is still floating. I did not attach it on the top rail yet or the back spot welds yet. The back can move around a little bit. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is one more test fit of tail light and trunk panel. Make sure we get the back exactly where we want it, get it stuck on there with the clamps and everything, and then I'll come in and weld that. Okay, that is now on there. So that's basically what I would call, I mean, it's kind of more of a patch panel than a full quarter panel. But that is how we did our quick and dirty one. Now, Kyle, you want to go ahead and test fit up the body kit? So as we get the body kit on there, you're going to see how little of this actually is shown. It's just the part that holds the taillight up through there and through there. So we're going to be body working that seam right there, but all the other stuff underneath, it'll just get painted to be protected from the weather and the environment, but that'll be cleaned out. Now the next step for us is going to be patch paneling in the rest of this. We're going to have to lift this up because this was all part of the crash. Hopefully, you wouldn't be dealing with this, but we're going to have to, push this in a little bit, patch this, lift this up to meet with this, and it comes out to here to meet perfectly with the body kit, and then we'll be patch paneling all of that in. But I want to see how this looks real quick as a full picture. So we're going to go ahead and drill a few holes in our brand new quarter panel skin and throw our drywall screws back in so we can see how it all looks together. Right on, it all still fits up. It's looking better than ever. I am pretty happy with that. If you're following along at home, the next steps will be in the next episode with us patching the rest of that stuff with steel and then seam sealing it all completely secure and building the steel wheel arch fender liner, steel fender liner, makes a lot of sense, that connects up with the wide body kit. This one was a little bit of a short one. We got like 2 big snow days where we weren't able to come in. So it's not like Oregon, but luckily the boat monitor worked perfectly and I knew that the boat wasn't freezing, and spoiler alert, it didn't sink this time. Speaking of boats, I've been getting a lot of questions about this here boat. When are we going to get back to it? And the answer to that is when we get a little bit closer to boating season. It's just so cold out there right now. There is not a lot of reason. Oh, I want to show you this. This is version 2 of the hood scoop. Now, we made it a little bit taller, and like from the front right on, I kind of like the height, but then once you get to the side, I think it's a little too much. I think it's a little too pronounced. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. The cool thing about this is once we're too high, we can really simply just sand the bottom of that, and that will gradually bring it down. But the other thing that I want to change on this when we go into our final version, and I can tell in the plastic welding, this is actually bowing in a little bit. I want to have it bow opposite. I want to have it actually follow the hood line, the arch of the hood line a little bit. So I'm going to put some more bend into the 3D model so we can get that to happen as well. Or we could just hit it with a heat gun and bend it a little bit. But let me know what you guys think about this version. Previous version, Kyle, can you help me? We'll do a comparison real quick. So this is version 2 and this is version 1. It looks like a baby hood scoop after you see version 2. I think somewhere in the middle is going to be our sweet spot, but I do like the width of version 2. Just want to get a little bit of that arch to go with it, so it doesn't look like our traditional garbage can hood scoop. Actually, we use those for roof scoops. Anyways, she is coming together. We're getting super, super close. In the next episode, I think we are going to start blending all these body kit pieces in and doing that body work to have this thing be a full flush mounted kit. That is going to be epic. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you so much for the support. If you want any merch, there's hoodies like this one and a bunch of other cool stuff over at BSforbuild.com. Please make sure to subscribe if you enjoy our content, and I will see you on the next one. Peace!